Just to alert our sensitive viewers, this episode may contain a bit of coarse language.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christy Blumendahl.
And my name is Rocco Catroni, and we are the Disability Tangent Podcast.
Each episode, we talk about current issues affecting communities while supporting people with disabilities.
Through research, community connections, and resource sharing, we hope to invite everybody to challenge their perceptions of people with disabilities and promote a more inclusive world.
Defined by what the people actually want and not what others think they want.
Come join us on this journey.
Hello, everyone. We are back. We are here with part 2 to a series on disabled research change agents. We are talking with Dr. Robin Arnall, PhD, BCBA-D, LBA, and Alexandra Elfers, MS, BCBA, COBA, and CLBA. Well, I wanted to just give a little bit of an overview of last time in case you weren't with us. I encourage you to go back and listen to the previous episode, but we talked about power differentials. We talked about staying in systems versus leaving systems that may or may not be doing some harm. We talked about some trauma-informed or trauma-assumed lenses to look at things, and we talked about some of our priorities and our values and how we approach things. And so we talked about what it is like being neurodiverse people in a space that is not always so kind and generous toward persons who are neurodiverse. There's a lot to unpack, and we are going to continue this conversation today. So last time we had Dr. Robin and Alexandra introduce themselves, but today, since we are jumping back into the conversation, I will give you a little bit of background on them. So Dr. Robin Arnall has 15 years of experience in applied behavior analysis. She started in the field as an autism specialist and implementer for behavior analytics services. Throughout her field experience, Dr. Arnall has worked with varied ages and diagnoses such as autism, oppositional defiant disorder, ADHD, and others. She has also been an instructor and professor in multiple behavior analysis programs for others. She is neurodivergent, AuDHD, and is passionate about incorporating compassionate practice to research, aiming for better standards of care and practice. Dr. Arnall has experience presenting at both regional and national conferences and serves on committees to help reform research practice and support student research projects. She is the co-author of the first autistic written skills assessment protocol, Empowering Autonomy ASAP, with her friend and peer, Alexandra Elfers. Alexandra is a queer, deaf, autistic ADHDer who is otherwise multiply disabled. They originally studied physics and are currently pursuing their doctoral degree in behavior analysis and are passionate about challenging the ableist and oppressive structures within the field of behavior analysis. Alexandra is in this field for harm reduction and to dismantle it from inside. They are also an Ukeru certified trainer and regularly support clients and staff in navigating distressed behaviors from a trauma-assumed lens. When not focused on work, Alexandra spends time with their friends, and I'm very excited for us to jump back into this discussion. I hope you will go back and listen to the first half, but I know that the second half is also going to be phenomenal. So let's jump in.
What do you think, in your respective positions that you have seen so far as students, clinicians, researchers, educators, community activists, what would you suggest people can do to start taking those tiny steps towards massive change?
Yeah.
Question.
Mm-hmm. Take your time.
When we ask of that question, are we talking about individuals who are in disability communities or those who are outsiders?
Yeah.
I think potentially both. So
okay.
Yeah.
Because I would treat them differently.
Absolutely.
Same.
That's a helpful question to solidify some of my thoughts. I'm in community with a lot of disabled and autistic people in and out of this field, more out of this field now at this point. At random, the people who moved into the house next to me 2 years ago are also both physically and developmentally disabled. Both are queer.
Yeah.
Who in the heck rolled the dice there in my favor? And now they're great friends. And most of the people I know, I spend a lot of time in community that knows nothing about ABA or adjacent except for knowing me. And you know what? A lot of autistic people, a lot of disabled people don't know about this controversy because they had different families or they didn't have access to services to begin with, or they lived a different life. They were also late diagnosed and they didn't go down this rabbit hole that Robin and I and that y'all have gone through. And they can sit down and do the research and hear about it and understand like why we're in the middle. And a lot of my community is that way. A lot of my community, they understand that there's a lot of harm that's been done, but they also understand that you can't just rip out the entire infrastructure currently available for support for those that are in true crisis and do need immediate support. Right. And so like acknowledging that liminal space, and that's how I would address it with both sides, but like in different flavors, right? That you got to actually, like, for clinicians, people in research, people on the professional side, whether you have lived experience or not, having lived experience does not absolve you of doing this work to unlearn your ableist bias. I have done and will continue to do that work probably for my whole life, because being autistic does not absolve me of ableism that I can easily perpetuate being in the field. There are a lot of autistic clinicians in a variety of fields that I just frankly don't get along with because they choose to be complicit. And that's for their own needs, their own survival, things like that, right? And I don't necessarily fault them for where they're at in the system. But I don't split hairs. That's where I don't compromise. You're either doing the work to unlearn this stuff and make a new system, or you're not. And I will work with the people who are, you know, and sit with it. If you're uncomfortable, it's safe to be uncomfortable. Sometimes it's not, but by and large, it's safe to be uncomfortable. You have a position of power, you have a salary, get uncomfy. It's okay. Learn to take a deep breath. You want your clients to learn to do that? How about you put your money where your mouth is and do that deep breath? Take a minute. Go
use
take
your
a break.
coping skills.
Go sit with your uncomfortable feelings and then do the work. If you want to claim to be a scientist and an analyst, be a scientist and an analyst. Learn new information, take it on board, learn how to integrate it and do better. And then for people on the other side of the conversation, I don't expect autistic people to come into this space and do this advocacy. It is hard. It is probably taking years off my life, but you know what? There's enough of life beating me down. Those years are gone anyway. And that's how I see it for myself, and not in a morbid way. It's just reality. My life has been a dumpster fire full of dumpster fires. I actually made a sticker because of the talk Robin and I had about
joke about that.
But like,
morbid jokes,
community and kinship, and not everybody in these spaces are the same people you may have encountered. And that doesn't mean to absolve anyone. It just means be in community and focus on your own life and healing and joy. Like, we deserve autistic joy. And if we're stuck on this fight against ableism, then we're being robbed of that joy. So, no, I'm going to go spend time with my local autistic community. I'm going to go spend time with my local disabled kin. And that's what I do things for. That's what I work for. I work to go and live in that community. And how much would that take down the crisis if we stopped trying to stop the bleeding where we just need space?
Yeah, I appreciate you talking so that I could formulate my thoughts, Alexandra. I feel similar to that perspective. As an educator and a professor, I would want to say similar approach, be open to learning and be receptive to learning. Just because you're done with your degree or just because you are quote unquote successful in whatever area you're in doesn't mean that you're done learning. And I think that that kind of goes back to, even within the field, the cultural humility aspect. We never stop learning, and we shouldn't stop learning because society evolves, hopefully in a good way, but we continue to evolve. And so that growth is vital. And I'm saying that even as an autistic person who does have a sense of community, in autism at this point. It's come a long way, but I still have a lot to learn. Like, I still don't even know all about myself that I could. I don't know how other individuals may fully relate. And I will say that I can't necessarily speak for other people's experiences because it's a spectrum, much like many other disabilities. And so it can be really important, especially even as an insider, I guess you could say, even as somebody who is disabled, to find your sense of community and to find your identity and to learn about that, because I think that developing that is also helping address your own needs, and validating your own experiences and your own needs. And then anybody who's outside of disability communities, associate with individuals who are disabled. I think it should go without saying, but that it's so simple that I think maybe people tend to overlook it.
Yeah.
And I remember going through a fellowship through UIC Leadership in Education Neurodevelopmental Disorders LEND, where our fellows are from that fellowship helping us now. One of the most impactful conversations we ever had was individuals talking about being able to do that interaction, as you're talking about, Robin, outside of the context of power, where you're not providing a service, you're not helping, you're not abiding, you are being and existing in a way where both people have a united goal to complete. It's a activity to, maybe everybody else is doing a volunteering activity, maybe it's just sitting in the library and chatting, maybe it's
you may not understand our hyperfixations, but you can at least sit there and listen. You could just be a human with us. We're all human.
Be a human. Oh my god, that sums it up so well. Just be a human and see other people as equally human.
Be a co-human.
I like
there you
that.
go. There's another
with
phrase
people.
for you all.
If you look back to Lovvas and him saying that autistic people aren't fully human and need to be built.
That's
Wash
a
that
big
out of your brain.
F you to that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wash that out of your brain.
I think that's so much a part of it. I always say I'm about equity. I want equity, equality, fairness, all of these, justice, all of these terms. And I think that's a big thing that so many people are like, oh, I'm not ableist. I work with disabled people all the time. And I'm like, okay, you just said you work with disabled people. What do you mean by that? Oh, so we're in a power structure where I am now over and above and helping. But like it becomes this thing where I'm like, okay, no, you're not in an equitable relationship with disabled people. And that's a very different thing. And so I feel like, yes, for every person out there who's, I'm an RBT, I have a BCBA. Okay, good for you. Fabulous. I'm so happy for you. Now, can you please have equitable relationships with disabled people where you listen to what's going on in their lives and not talk down to them and not be a D?
Exactly.
Actually pay attention, listen, be kind, be generous, be compassionate, like treat them like you would want to be treated as a human. Yes, be a human. Rocco and I were recording a different episode and I was talking about these shirts from Mahogany Mommies. Mahogany Mommies, we should get them as a sponsor because I talk about them like every episode lately. Mahogany Mommies, they have a shirt that says they are not, no, it is not.
Official sponsorship.
I would love that though. I need to talk to them. Okay, I'm going to get in touch. They have a shirt that says being a good human matters. And I need to get that shirt. I love that so much because I feel like, yes, it does. Just be a good human. And like you said, be a co-human, be a good co-human. I appreciate that so much. Just understand that equitable relationships are what's important for this learning. Right? That's where you need to be looking. That's where you need to be finding your information. Not in I teach this kid. Equitable relationships with people non-disabled and disabled together. Yes, absolutely.
Well, what are they teaching you?
Yes. What are they teaching you?
co-located co-human.
That's I know.
For somewhere there,
Do you
Robin.
want to write a
There it is.
paper?
Yeah, I like it.
Do you want to write a paper, Christy?
Oh, is that wrong?
Darwin
Are we
Lab.
gonna get in trouble for
Playing their game.
singing that line? It's not protected in any way, is it?
No, well, I think the
that one is
seven notes okay.
plagiarism.
The eighth
Okay,
note
we're
is
good. We're good.
plagiarism, so I think we're. So we could
And
say,
then we have
do you
to-
want to write a
Do you want to write a
and then we gotta stop. And that's the
That's it.
paper?
Make your own assumptions. That's
I saw someone recently post in academia. That would be a fun paper is like equivalent to the. Do you want to be friends?
Oh, I feel like
or we should hang
Rocco and
out.
I are like best friends then
Never
because
Yeah,
we
I believe
said
that.
that
it's
80 million
just
times.
a high organization. Right?
We wrote one paper,
Oh yeah,
not yet published.
But then,
we did on anti-stigma campaigns.
Hopefully soon to be published. We'll
Soon
let
to
you
be,
know. We'll keep
hopefully.
you posted. Sorry. Shameless plug for ourselves.
please do. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Shameless.
I
There's
mean,
no money.
Hey, we don't get
There's
paid
no
for
money in
this.
this.
That's
I
we
don't
can
read
say
a
whatever
whole
we
lot
want.
of papers that I like, so please give me hope that some papers are less trash.
Yeah, for sure.
And I say that across a broad amount of fields because very little literature is written by and for autistic people or
Mhm.
multiply disabled people. Much less have you seen
Yeah.
high support needs papers written by high support needs lived experience educators, medium support needs. No, get left out of the conversation,
Yeah.
which is
Because then
multiple four-letter words.
individuals benefit from the interactions of people with disabilities, and the people with disabilities don't get any of the
Mm-hmm.
work for that, any of the credibility, although that paper and work wouldn't exist without those individuals. So
Yeah.
that feels weird,
But
right?
those individuals don't necessarily even have the right to consent to that work being done.
Exactly. In any other field, when we call that fraud, but because there's people with disabilities, it's seen as saviorism.
It's
Cool.
Well,
totally
because
okay.
they're capable, we're not capable. Robin, did you know that we shouldn't have legally been able to sign that form to be on a podcast because we're disabled? And like, we should have had anyway. Go.
Jeremy Andrew Davis recently was talking about this. If you don't follow Jeremy Andrew Davis, you should. JeremyAndrewDavis.com. And anyway, I love Jeremy Andrew Davis. No. This is just me. This is just me throwing people out there. Yes. Yet, I know, because we are totally going to tag
Yet.
Jeremy Andrew Davis and try to figure that out. But anyway, I was just talking about this, how like someone approached him for being a part of writing an article. And then he was like, okay, but I want to see it before it goes out and is published because I want to make sure that autistic people are fairly represented. And so then they ghosted him and didn't get back in touch. And then the article comes out and it says people living with autism, people dealing with autism, all of this like language that most autistic people disagree with completely because they're like, it's not a problem that I need to solve. It is a part of my identity. And anyway, there's even a note in it, like an editor's note that says, oh, we even though most autistics want identity first language, we chose to utilize this other, right? So it literally says, like it quotes a paper in the editor's note.
Yeah.
Cringe.
Although,
yes, like we
had
like,
the answer in front of
here's a
us,
cited source.
we chose not
here's
to
a
do the
cited
answer of the
source
definition in
that
front of us.
you want identity first language. However, we're going to ignore you and we're going to use this other language. And so it was just like a ridiculous thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. And then there was a whole other thing on LinkedIn about how some man in Arkansas Texarkana. Is that what it's called? Some.
Oh man. Yes, I'm actually ironically in
he,
Arkansas. Yes, it's Texarkana.
Okay. No,
I'm not some man in
in
Arkansas.
saw a van from a facility at an adult store and theater and called the authorities because he felt that people with developmental disabilities should not be allowed there. That's a dangerous place. And how can they consent to going to an adult store?
Wow.
So there's a whole, right now, craziness happening around this place that allows their adults to go to an adult store and purchase items. And how people are really mad about that.
Gasp.
Right?
So
Clutch pearls.
The tattoo I have, I got a puzzle piece tattoo, believe it or not, that is it is a permanent shitpost, for lack of a better phrase, because it says autism FUCK, but the U is a asterisk because censorship is sometimes valid. And I work with kids, so it's on my ankle, so I can cover it with the sock very easily. But disabled people experience the whole range of human existence, have intimate partnerships, we get married, we get divorced, we get in legal trouble, we break the rules because we're not angels or saints, we're humans.
And those of us who are high masking are more susceptible because we portray neurotypicality.
Sometimes the mask breaks.
And sometimes
the mask breaks
That's a whole other issue
mid-evening, and then the cops are called, and then crappy stuff happens.
Sometimes the mask
I'm not referencing a particular instance that may or may not have happened in Amana, Iowa.
That is another specific broad categorical.
I mean, I think we started out with me saying that I was inpatient hospitalized, so I've never been in the back of a cop car myself.
Never!
Not as an arrest, but sometimes when you get called, it's the cops that come. And how supportive is that to be in crisis and be hauled up? Like, it's not paramedics that come to your house and knock on your door when you are reasonably reacting to how horrible society has been to you and not knowing how to survive it. And your friend tries to get you help, and it's cops that show up and force you into the back of a car.
And none of them are trained to work with neurodivergent issues.
No, not at all. And they're like, you're wasting my time. Like, why are you... And you get treated like a criminal for struggling with how society is.
They did it to you.
Yeah.
It is. And,
it's part of our reality.
Right.
It shouldn't be. And it is a thing that still happens. And until that changes somehow, it is a thing that I end up needing to protect myself from or cope with. And there becomes this crazy line. Like, where does, like me going out and drinking too much is different than just somebody else going out and drinking too much because my mask falls off, right? I stop masking when I drink too much. And then something happens where I am in the back of a cop car and things have gone horribly awry, but most people don't have to deal with that situation, right? They just get to go out and have fun. And that's not always the situation for me. I don't get to just go out and have fun.
What is that like?
What is fun?
I would love to know what that feels like.
Morbid humor.
And I think that's a whole, Christy, I know you and I have used this phrase a lot where we say, it's quote unquote, the tyranny of the just. Just do this. And just finish your degree. Just live your life. Just find a job. Just get the support. And shit.
I know. There we go. There it is.
This is what makes it a really
I keep saying it's me.
It's me. But that's the thing that we run into then too, right? Where it's, listen, if I could just do those things, you think I'd be here? Cool. So we're not reaching inside and finding the answer for something like that, because when we reach inside to find the answers that make sense for us, it isn't the answer that everybody else accepts. And then that's where the whole masking component comes in. That's,
And
In a
Yeah,
future
and
episode of Disability Tangent Podcast, Tyranny of the Just, when the mask breaks.
oh god, that would be. I have some people I could recommend for in the Mad Pride world anyway. That would do that justice far better than I could, because I probably mask
There's
more
a
than your
test.
average person.
There's a
even though I
test
think
for
I don't.
it. I don't know if
I think
you
we
are
Constantly
aware
learning.
that there is now an assessment.
Oh,
Yeah, there is an
Oh,
assessment.
should
Is it on
definitely take that.
autism.com? Is that the one I sent to you? Do you remember at all, Rocco?
Let me look through. I can find it.
Yes,
Oh,
that is
camera-
it. There is an assessment
is.
for
CATU.
how much you mask. And I apparently am a
tonight.
very accomplished masker,
Woo!
which I was surprised at. Yes.
the CATU.
That's a resume skill.
That's
Oh, good, because my CV is due for ASEC
That's totally
tomorrow, so I
resume-worthy.
really need to put that on my special skills.
That's so great.
I will do that assessment tonight if I can, but
I
God,
know. That
It's
is
due
a thing.
Sunday at midnight.
Exactly. I'm looking at my notepad.
I
Kristen.
know. I
think we
feel
have
like
the next 17
we have
episodes
so
here.
much
That's-
going on. We're definitely going to have to split this into a couple of episodes because this is so much really good content. I'm not going to be able to.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be able to cut it down to just one. We have 2 hours of recording. Oh my gosh, this
Good
is
job.
amazing.
There it
I'm
is.
so happy with all of this. I feel like this has been a phenomenal discussion thus far, and I would like to. I mean, we're not going to ask the question that we often ask, which is like, how can we support you? Because you're not an organization, and I think that would be weird. But I think, like, what's the best way for us to support autistic people in general? What do you have ways that, like, obviously we've brought up Autism Speaks and said that is not a good, because some people might just go to the internet and be like, oh, here's a thing I can support. We do not
Right.
support that. So what are ways that if
No.
people are like, oh, this is a community that I would like to support in a way, in addition to, because I do not want anybody to be like, oh, let me write a check to some organization and not form an equitable co-human relationship with people, because that is what we really want you to do. What other ways could people be supported, or the autistic community? And then any other thoughts that you really feel like maybe we didn't get to and you really want to share?
Maybe just helping people learn how to be themselves.
Mhm.
I struggled for so long not knowing who I was. And that sounds so weird, but I was masking and camouflaging so much depending on who I was around and what the context was, that I just didn't really know me. And when you're autistic, I feel like it's a common thing to wear many masks and to not really have that sense of me and what helps me. And it sounds so self-centered to say it like this, but like I spent so much time pleasing society and other people that I really didn't know how to please myself. So
Yeah.
I would say that.
I think so many people want to go to the people who can give them continuing education units only, right? And preferably free. And I get that. I understand you got to go through your hoops, but go get education from autistic-led orgs. Go get education. Some of them do have CEU opportunities available, but go to the places with autistic and neurodivergent focused education. Even if you're not going to get a CEU for it, it's partially reparations. A lot of autistic people can't do traditional jobs. Like the underemployment rate for disabled people is astronomical. Go pay to learn, like, from disabled people. Learn from autistic people. That is like where the reparations is at for me. I completely agree with what you're saying too, Robin, as far as like relational support, but like money does matter, and a lot of autistic, multiply disabled people don't have the credentials to make people be willing to listen to them. So do the work. Don't just go listen to free YouTube videos. Go pay advocates to teach you. Spend time. Like, not a specific org necessarily. Like, people have their preferences, but find and support autistic and neurodivergent, disabled-led orgs, people who provide education.
Completely agree.
You make
Good
money.
point.
Yes, and we're everywhere. You just go on
pay some of
LinkedIn
that,
and search,
you know?
and
Yeah.
you'll find so many.
We're everywhere.
Autism is
We're surrounding you right now.
Look to your left,
I
look to
love
your right.
that.
One
We're
of
there.
You know?
At least one of you is autistic.
Wait, nose goes since the camera's not on.
I was
doing
gonna
the nose.
say, who gets to decide that if we can't see each other? Yes. But to that point of being everywhere and being inclusive with that was the whole thing we talked about in Gavin's episode of, okay, cool. There's this cash cow of assisting, quote unquote, people with disabilities and people with autism and various other afflictions per the societal words on that. It was a very interesting article I read the other day. Thanks, NPR, for that. And there's that whole system creating that money off of that. Or, hear me out, we can include people and they're returning customers that are willing to do. Perhaps, maybe the economic impact, it would be higher for inclusivity than pushing people down. I don't know. I'm not an economist, but I'd imagine that the more people you can include, the more resources you have available. And that kind of helps everybody.
Oh, wait,
Tell someone
we
about
did
this.
in episode 1 with Gavin Neate. Welcome.
We did.
Go back, listen to it. Yeah, absolutely. All of that is so much truth in that. I feel like so many of the people that I follow and am connected with are flabbergasted. It's mind-boggling, Rocco. Sorry, that's also we get so much good content from Gavin Neate. Anyway, it's mind-boggling how many people they promote their services and say, I am a disabled consultant, and then people send them an ask and say, oh, but we can't pay you. That's fine though, because you're getting your message out there. And it's like, yes, I want to get my message out there, but what the hell? I need some money. Yeah, hello. It's ridiculous to me. And obviously we need to eat food, we need to whatever, and I know that there's a societal kind of like weirdness about disabled people that has this crazy understanding that we're somehow like, leeches and we're sucking the marrow out of society. But I can say, and probably have said and will say many times over and over, that my disability payment is $900 a month. $900 a month. I live off of $900 a month. Like, that is, what am I draining out of society for that amount of money? And so we pay for corn subsidies, and we pay for bankrupt businesses, and we pay for banks to bail out, and we pay for, I don't know, we pay for all of these things that are totally fine. And then when it comes to my $900 a month, somehow it's draining society. And I feel like either you have to hate all subsidized things, like all of them, or you have to like not focus in on this one group of humans that happens to need more assistance than other humans, and be like, oh, and not maybe more, even just different assistance than other humans. There's so many things that I could say about it. I could go on and on, obviously. I could talk about marriage equality, right? I have more marriage equality now as a queer person than I do as a disabled person. I can't get married. My daughter and I were talking about it the other day. I can't get married. I'll lose my health insurance. I had to send medical records from one doctor to another doctor because I've changed primary care physicians after 12 years. And I couldn't even send my full record because the system won't let me. That's too many doctor visits. So I was allowed to send under 1,000. So that was 10 years. In 10 years, I've had 1,000 medical visits just at one provider. And so I can't lose my insurance. What are you talking about? I can never get married. I can't put that on a person. Like, that's ridiculous. So there's all of these things that people just don't consider. You think you know, but you don't know. So either learn or be quiet. That's the thing that I would ask. I get upset when people are like, you're draining society. Draining them of what exactly? Oxygen? Walkers? Canes?
There's enough round.
What am I
I'm
getting?
The
Amen.
billionaires are draining society. The billionaires are draining society with their D rockets and submarines and stuff, and then crying wolf when we try to provide care for anyone other than them. I have no sympathy. You're a human, you deserve care, but you've got enough people in your circle clearly to give you that care. It ain't gotta come from me.
And then so many of us we don't have people in our circle. I've had to go no contact from people. I've had people that don't support me. It's crazy. And then people use that as a yardstick, right? Like, her own siblings won't give her money. Why would we? And sometimes the people that are closest to you are the absolute worst about stuff. And to my family that may be listening, I'm not blanket statementing my whole family. I'm just saying that sometimes the people who have been a part of your entire history are the ones who are most easily convinced that you are the problem, because they've lived through with you this concept of, we need to fix you. We need to fix you, right? Your parents were trying to fix you. Your siblings watched your parents try to fix you. Your teachers were a part of trying to fix you. Everyone was trying to fix you. And so the concept is that you are the problem. And I believe I'm the problem 95% of the time. It takes a lot of work for me to not think I'm the problem. So I understand if my siblings or my aunts and uncles or even my dad or whoever oftentimes thinks I'm the problem, because that's how we were socialized. We were socialized into that, like that I'm the problem. Yeah. So no judgment on my family or the people that think that. I understand why they think that. I understand why we're in the space that we're in. But it's also, that's not fair to use that as a yardstick and go, oh, you're a problem child. Obviously, we shouldn't help you. Like, no, that's not fair.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a reason, not an excuse.
Yep. People need to direct their own care. I have a friend who has carerism. When you're providing care to people who never asked for it, when you are supposing you know better for their life than they know for themselves, in the guise of care and help.
Yeah.
Did I ask? Did you think to ask if I've got this? And I don't, because society sucks, but I don't want that help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had other guests. Caterina Rivera talks about that, like using a white cane. People frequently will come up and try to assist without asking, without someone saying, can you help? They just see a person that has some like visible thing that says, hey, I probably have a disability. And they're like, oh gosh, I have to fix that. Let me do something. What do I do? Let me do something. I must have to do something because you must not be okay on your own. Yeah. And she's, I've got this. I've got this. Welcome to the Disability Tangent Podcast, where we explore the diverse experiences and voices within the disability community. Our platform is more than just a podcast. It's a beacon of empowerment, education, and inclusivity.
We're reaching out to potential sponsors who believe in the power of storytelling to create positive change. By sponsoring the Disability Tangent podcast, you're not just supporting a show, you're investing in a movement that aims to break down barriers and amplify the voices of those often marginalized in mainstream media.
Your sponsorship not only helps us continue to produce high-quality, impactful content, but also demonstrates your commitment to inclusivity and diversity. Together, we can create a more inclusive world where everyone's story is heard and valued.
Join us in this important mission. Partner with the Disability Tangent podcast and be a part of this change. I like what you're saying, I got this. Like, seriously. So again, this recording is amazing. As a complete aside, I don't often engage in ADHD stereotypy, to be completely honest and straightforward. I think that's something that I try to hide a lot in that fidgeting and that piece, and it's actually been refreshing having the video up, because the whole time I'm in my chair and I have my little fidgets on the table and I'm moving back and forth, and it felt like a safe space that I haven't been in a while, and I thank you for that, and I really appreciate that. That's with all the sincerity I can muster.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because I specifically work to show myself with stereotypy fidgets with my students so that I can normalize it. And then they're like, oh, if my professor does this thing and I can listen to her, then if I need that, I can do it too. So I had to work through that for a while, though, because I was like, people aren't going to take me seriously. But now I really don't give a crap. So
I'll get there.
Fidgeting with the ring this whole time. I had a professor last fall sometime offer to extend my camera off accommodation because that's one of the accommodations that my therapist and I came up with, was like, hey, is it going to drain your social battery on top of being in a PhD in behavior analysis as an autistic person to have your camera on and have to or feel that perceived pressure to modulate your facial expressions? And I don't know what my face does 90% of the time, and I don't care. It's my face. If you need clarification, ask me. It's probably you guessed inaccurately. That's okay, just ask. But professor was like, if you're only doing that, then your peers might ask you. And I'm like, why don't you leave that to me? If they have the proverbial care to ask me that question, I'll tell them. And
it started so strong.
And I'm like, yeah, it did. It evolved into bro mess pretty quickly. So I was like given credit for how strong, and then I was like, oh no, you have the moniker D, got it. If my peers ask me, maybe they'll realize they can get accommodations too, because I have peers that have ADHD or that maybe are undiagnosed. A number of people I know that are in the field, maybe they need permission. I'm happy to give it. It's no sweat off my back. You might feel slighted by the curb cut for me, which is my accommodations, but you shouldn't be. It doesn't hurt you for me to have them, and maybe if you're so hurt about it, it might be worth investigating whether or not you should ask for it. If I got a model, I'll model away. I'm not given a flying leap about what other people think about the accommodations I need to survive. I care about my survival, not about your feelings about how I do it. Yeah, I've been fidgeting with my the whole time. Petting my cats, muting periodically to meow at them. My echolalia.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that so much, because people would often be like, why do you get extra time? Why do you get whatever? Why do you get, first of all, why is it your business? And then second of all, if you also have a justification for this sort of thing, then you get it too. It's not like I'm the only person that gets extra time. Many people can have extra time. Like, time is a construct in the first place. There's no reason we can't all have time. Yeah. And then the people who are like, we all get 24 hours. First of all, spoons. So that's not the same. And then
unified
and then some people
cutlery theory.
What is it?
If you haven't heard of it, I'm gonna put the link. unified cutlery theory. I'm going to find the link and put it. It combines the spoon theory with the fork and the knife theory. So spoons are the allotment of energy you have. Forks are the things in the day that kind of your setting events, to use a behavior analytic term.
Oh.
And knives are when you're out of spoons and all you
You're
got left is forks, but you still got to keep
I
going.
love
You're
this.
stabbing yourself to
Oh
do it.
my gosh. This is my new favorite thing. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Yes.
Yes.
This is my Tuesday
Oh, yeah.
before the
Yeah, I
podcast
know,
comes
like-
out. Knives.
This is my love
Oh my
language.
goodness.
This is-
Same.
I love that.
Yes. Oh my god.
That made me totally forget what I was
Ugh.
saying. Oh no, it's totally.
And
Oh,
sorry,
I know what I was
didn't
going to
mean
say.
cut you off,
Oh,
but,
that
like,
a lot of the people who say we all have 24 hours probably have a personal trainer and a chef and a nanny, whatever else. So they don't actually just have 24 hours because they're splitting their hours with all of these
Oh
other
my
people
gosh,
who are
yes.
managing tasks. But staff. Yes, exactly. So if you
generational
have a
wealth to
staff,
reinforce
then
that.
you have more than 24 hours because your hours are now multiplied by all of the people that you are giving this to. If you have someone cleaning your house, those are hours that are now subtracted from your day. If you have a partner, that's hours that you can split across people. That's not saying you don't also both have responsibilities. You do, but it's different, right? A single parent versus two parents in a home, that makes a difference because those hours can be split. So there's all of these ways that time is also a thing that we need to like look at in different ways. It's not, oh, we all have 24 hours. Yeah, absolutely.
Time is relative. Even in physics, time is relative. Like, time is the fourth dimension. It doesn't work as linear.
Yeah, that's close.
I don't
close
know
enough.
if that's a
Yeah.
word.
That's better than I would have said.
Time is
Relativity is relative.
Relativity is relative.
You don't have to apologize
sorry,
for physics. I think it's great. And I thought it was interesting that you said you were going to study physics. You didn't want to work with people because one of the people that I'm aware of who works with people like consistently is super into quantum physics. His name is John Newton, and he helps people like with clearing ancestral traumas and like this kind of stuff using forgiveness practices. It's like super out there, but he's so knowledgeable. He used to be an actor, and then he had this like moment, and then he was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this. Yeah, John Newton. Like only certain people will appreciate John Newton, but yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
Physics is, I mean, my undergrad was in a quantum matter lab. That's like, I come from a very specific world that even a lot of physicists
super
don't
cool.
go
Yeah,
into.
he went from like Melrose Place.
Which he
went to like
I only
from
understood
Melrose
in
Place
elementary
to quantum physics to like forgiveness practices. It's a really, I don't know, it's a really cool journey.
Interesting, because I grew up.
Oh my gosh!
Had Melrose Place on the TV a lot.
Yes,
and shows like it. So that's a small world moment. Like, he went and studied physics. Holy hell! See, physics is just dope. It's stimmy. The stars are fantastic. We're all stardust. Just pretending that we know better than another spec, and you're like, nah, we don't. We're all making it up. Like, we're gonna collapse at some point, and then something new will come out. Chill.
Yeah,
there is
absolutely.
no bleeding to stop.
Yeah.
Give it space. Sorry. That's a can of worms we may not want to open.
No,
because I could geek out for forever. And make
I get
absolutely
it.
no
I know.
sense.
It definitely is a can of worms.
I love
but
it.
It's super cool. Yeah. Yes.
Very
Thank
fun.
you so much, Robin and Alexandra. This was amazing.
Thank you for asking us.
Thank you for
being here and
come back.
Gladly.
I just
This was fun.
appreciate.
This is how you keep doing the work.
Yeah,
That's and your point of that modeling before. I think that's something that I know Christine and I are excited about with this. Look at that. We just had a 2-hour conversation on this. It's not a difficult thing to do once you start going and you let it flow and you allow those things to flow. And I just felt like today.
Yeah, and
just
I
felt
appreciate so
good.
much your just
good.
willingness to be vulnerable and honest in this space, and to just speak what it is that I think can be beneficial and helpful for a lot of people listening. And yeah, it's hard sometimes to step out and to do that. And so I just really appreciate that. And I'm so grateful that you were here to do that with us today.
As hosts of the Disability Tangent podcast, we love hearing from our listeners. Your thoughts, feedback, and questions are what keep our podcast going and growing.
So if you've been inspired, moved, or even challenged by anything you've heard on our show, we want to hear from you. Share your stories, your insights, and your questions with us by emailing disabilitytangent@gmail.com.
Whether you're sharing a personal story, suggesting a topic for a future episode, or simply want to say hello, we're here and ready to listen.
So don't be shy. Drop us an email at disabilitytangent@gmail.com and let's keep the conversation going. Your voice matters, and we can't wait to hear from you.
That's all for today, folks. Until next time, remember to stay engaged, stay curious, and above all, stay connected. Thank you for listening.
Join us next time for a tangent about age, ageism, and disability. From "you're too young to be disabled" to "we will all be disabled at some point," there are plenty of views. But you're going to get mine and Rocco's. I mean, who did you expect? Adele? The Prime Minister of Canada? I mean, we might be able to get them on eventually, but come on, we're only on episode 7. Give us time. Join us next time. Yas.
Shit, first time.
We're so good.
We should do this professionally.
I know, right?
Please pay us. Please. Can that be part of it? Can that be part of our sponsorship?
I think
Here's
it
the
might
official
be.
one.
Yeah. Pay us.
Please pay us.